I was looking for notes.
The joys of doing a live podcast. Good evening. You are tuned to the football pitch. It's 7 o'clock. We made it bang on time. For the first time ever, we did start on time, and then Dennis decided he had some notes to get. But hey, listen, never mind. The joys of doing a live podcast. As I say, it's a football pitch. Myself, Cammy McDonald, Dennis Newell. Dennis still struggling with that cough, but it definitely is easy. It's barely talking.
It's not bad, Cammy. And good evening. How are you?
Not bad at all, mate. Not bad.
Good.
Not much to talk about tonight. Really, just I look back at last week's results, north and south of the border. I look ahead to the fixtures. Obviously, last night's or this week's European results for all the British sides. Draws made today, which really only affects obviously Celtic if you're a fan of Scottish football. But all 5 English clubs still involved in the Champions League down south. I think they're all involved in the Europa League as well. So we'll get that to discuss tonight. And we'll fly through tonight, Dennis.
Yes.
Probably the place to start. Transfer window closing very shortly. The biggest move so far, I think, is the exodus or the move out of Scotland. Kieran Bowie going to Hellas Verona over in Italy. £6 million. I think that's too much money, but and I think it's based mostly on Bowie's early season form, because I don't think, along with his club, that the last few months has been particularly kind to him.
No, I totally agree with that, but then we just don't know where transfer money comes from anymore. Scotland seems to be the only one that's strapped, unless you buy the occasional player that is maybe overpriced, as we've talked about on many occasions with Old Firm. Bowie's got good potential, and before we came in here, I said to you that it might be a good move from a Scotland point of view, because if he hits some form over there, which he had done with Hibs, remember, I think this is quite a big step up in my head to go from Hibs, and that's not being disrespectful to Hibs. I think the Italian league is bigger. So you look at it and you say to yourself, if he hits form, we badly lack in the Scotland squad for the World Cup a centre forward.
Yep.
Now, the timing might be right for him to go there, produce the goods, and we have one less worry going into the World Cup for who's going to maybe score goals. So it could work out well. Overpriced? Possibly, but I think Celtic, on the back of it, may have cashed in there maybe at the start of the transfer window and maybe looked at Hibs getting maybe, say, £3-4 million from him. I think they might have taken that right away. And it would maybe help Celtic's cause, because in the transfer window, Celtic desperately needed other players. And from what I can see, they've only signed the big centre forward, who last week when I watched the game was there, done a couple of things, but nothing that made me think that's going to be the be-all and end-all of fixing what problems there is at Parkhead. So Bowie, good move for the boy. Absolutely delighted for him. Scotland might benefit. Is he overpriced? Yes. And has Scotland missed out in a trick with it? Probably, as I say, Celtic could maybe have cashed in that and strengthened their squad a bit. But time will tell. Time will tell. Yeah. And Hibs, I think, have already stepped in and signed somebody else to replace him. So,
yeah, I think they brought in the League of Ireland. You know, we've seen how much success Johnny Kenny's been at Celtic in terms of the League of Ireland striker, League of Ireland strikers. Said firmly tongue in cheek, by the way, if anybody hadn't caught that. But no, I mean, £6 million, I think, though, it's a great move for Hibs. Let's be honest. I think getting £6 million for a striker who's probably not on the form, as I say, he was on earlier in the season. We'll remember that great goal he had in Europe, where he obviously caught the ball from the left touchline. we all remember that, and I think £6 million is a hell of a lot of money to play for to pay for one goal. The potential, as you say, is definitely there, and he has proven it to a degree that he can do something in Scotland. And as you say, make you wonder why neither will firm.
Yeah.
Why neither of the firm have looked at him. Rangers go out and spend £8 million, which we've done to death, on a striker who can barely kick his own arse. And there's a guy there at Easter Road who has shown, as I say, in flashes, that he has the ability to score goals in Scotland and in Europe. So I would far rather have spent £6 million on Bowie than £8 million on Chimiti.
Without a doubt. I mean, to me, I would rather have the boy Boyle signing with the old firm, because look, you might think, oh, his age, he's this, he's that. He's been off the boil a little bit as well, but the whole Hibs team have. So you look at it and you say to yourself, at the start of the season, there's two forwards that basically the old firm could have cashed in, got them relatively cheap, and would have helped them out the hole that they're in, because they're desperately lacking goals in both these two teams. And you might think, well, they're not that great. They're better than what you've got. You've spent £8 million to keep rattling my gums about that for a centre forward, as you rightly say, is dire. So I just look at it and go, what are these people at the top of the tree sitting there thinking when they squander money of that amount? And yet you've got people in the door. If they don't work out when you've only maybe spent £1 million, £2 million, it's not the end of the world. But when you spend £8 million, what are you doing? You're flogging the guy to death, and he's never going to come good. Yeah. Because you keep playing him every week. And that's the problem. Then you've got it with Ingles as well. People might say, what are you talking about? Ingles is a good player. Ingles is not a good player for the money they spent. What was it, £11 million for him? I watched 100%. The game last night, and 1 minute, two things I watched about him last night: corners and the penalty. Penalty's great, and he's got good feet on him. But there's times when he has no consistency whatsoever. And when you pay that amount of money, you're looking for consistency for 90 minutes. He took two corners. The first one never got by the first defender, that you could have gave somebody in a pub to go and sclaff it, right? Yeah. The second one was an absolute peach. And you look at it and you say to yourself, that's what you should be doing for 90 minutes when we spend, as a club, that amount of money. And that's what Celtic should be asking for. The same when you go to Rangers as well, they've got the same problem. Tavernier last night, I looked at him and I thought, he has been played as a right back for all the years he's been at that club. And nobody seems to have said, you can't defend to save yourself. And last night was a prime example. He gets exposed, one, because his legs are going slightly. He's not got the pace. He got roasted a few times, especially with the wee boy Pepe. And I just believe that they should maybe have tried to look and say, you're good at going forward, son. You've got a good strike in you. You've got a good free kick. You can certainly add value to the team, but you're not a fullback. And I would have played him for a long while in midfield and get somebody behind him that you can rely on. Mm-hmm. And he could still come back and help out, but you don't have him as your last line of defence. Because last night, as far as I'm concerned, he's involved in everything that goes wrong. The second goal was... He was all over the place trying to get the ball out his feet. So when you look at improving the squads, there is people within Scotland that could actually help what you would say the two teams with money. Not necessarily because we want sitting here talking about it, Celtic and Rangers to be stronger. That's not the case at all. What we're thinking is the two strongest teams are normally the old firm, because they've got the most money, and they can then go into Europe and hopefully do something decent. But they don't seem to be getting that talent in. They're not bringing it in. And that's the problem you've got. Yeah. So Bowie, has he missed? We'll never know. He's gone. That's it. You know, you just need to look as well. McGinn, Celtic had an opportunity to buy him for Hibs way back. Look how he's turned out. What was that? That was, again, frightened to spend the money. Yeah. So you look at the missed chances that both Celtic and Rangers have and not doing it. You think now that they would start to look at how they actually approach players, how they get them in, and quality players that's no burning a hole in their pocket when they don't perform.
Yeah. I mean, Celtic seem intent on obviously bringing in cheaper. If they're bringing in a player from a Scottish club, it's the likes of Luke McGowan or something like that, you know, who's obviously going to be a bit cheaper than what Boyle was, or certainly was a bit cheaper than what Boyle was. Rangers, they also brought the boy in for Dundee, but I mean, he's been shipped out already. Lyle Cameron, he's obviously, I think moved on loan or whatever it is from Rangers, you know. So they don't be prepared. They don't seem to be prepared to give Scottish players much of a chance, you know. And as we say, and we've had that discussion many a time on here, seem far too ready to bring in foreign duds rather than giving Scottish homegrown players a chance, you know. And it's definitely something I think that both Rangers and Celtic, and indeed Hearts, let's be fair, Hearts haven't brought in many players from Scotland in this window. It's all foreign players that Hearts want to bring in. But again, Hearts seem to be the only side out of the three sides challenging for the title at the moment who appear to be strengthening their squad to any great depth. They've done that, which is why they're sitting at the top of the table. They're now at a stage where they're starting to be many people's favourites for the title. Indeed, on our TikTok page this week, that's a social media channel, then it's just obviously for yourself, you know. But on our TikTok page, I mean, it's blowing up with some of the stuff we managed to get posted from last week's show with Graham Duthie in relation to Hearts. So, I mean, it's blowing up the conversation there between Rangers, Hearts and Celtic fans, and obviously fans of other clubs getting involved. And it does seem to be the consensus that Hearts are many, many people's favourites, not just the Hearts supporters, but Hearts are many, many people's favourites to actually go on and really be the side who ultimately lifts the title. And I think that is shown in what they've done in the transfer window in obviously January.
Well, they seem to be educated enough that they know what will be strengthening the team, right? And that's first and foremost. That's it. If somebody gets injured, there's somebody else to take their place. So that's the strength and depth that Hearts have been working to. With Devlin and Shankland out injured, my thoughts were, can they survive? Because they were really key players, and they did. You know, and when you look at last week's game against Celtic, I think, again, going back to Rangers and Celtic, that basically they are nowhere near the level they've been at in donkey's years. And Hearts have been a lot better. Hearts are not there by default or because the two of them are dire or not as good as they should be. Hearts are there because the signings they have made and the squad that they've got is really, really good.
Yeah.
Not brilliant, but they're good, right?
Yeah.
And they are good enough to go on and win the Premier League without any question of doubt. And again, if you look at what the window's brought in for Celtic or Rangers even, you say, are either of them going to be picking up maximum points between now and the end of the season when you've got the likes of Falkirk and Motherwell and other teams round about really playing well? I think to myself, no, I don't think the Old Firm will go through the season without dropping points. Forgetting about Hearts taking points off them in the future. So I don't think it's a done deal, don't by any manner of means, but I'll tell you what, it's a really, really good season for wondering what's going to happen next. Yeah. And at this point, the thing about it is that the Old Firm, I would like to have seen them being stronger to see if Hearts could actually compete against them with a bit more strength, because they are really, really weak. And I mean, you might look at it last night. Celtic won the game handsomely against Utrecht, but you know they started a bit in that last quarter, an hour, 20 minutes when they were 3-0 up before half an hour, and then you look at Rangers when they go a goal up, and then they get a kick in again. There are too many boys in that team think they're players when they're not actually good enough. I'll tell you what though, Cammy, just I'm not bouncing about all over the place, but if I go to the Rangers game for last night, that first half is the best I've seen Rangers playing in over a year. They were very, very good. And unfortunately, they don't have a striker or people that's got the desire and the hunger to get in that box and score goals. Otherwise, they could have won that game against a very, very good team. But they fell into the gutter again as the game went on. And I just felt that they haven't done enough in the window. Celtic, similar. Still not enough. Still players that are being in a green and white jersey that are not good enough to be playing with Celtic. I know, taking it further forward, you could say, well, Celtic's progressed, which is great for Scotland or Celtic supporters. And Rangers have been abysmal, and they've ended up in the bottom 4 or 5 of that Europa League league sections. So it is what it is in that front. But
yeah,
I keep rattling my gums about Celtic and Rangers every week, but you're looking for something different. I've had a window now, and I was expecting something special from either of them, and there's been nothing special. And I don't think one forward is going to be enough for Celtic to, what would you say, get on top of Rangers at this moment in time. Because who would have thought at the start of the season we would have been sitting here talking about a league that actually consists of Hearts, Rangers, Celtic?
Yeah.
I don't think we would have predicted that. Motherwell. Yeah, Motherwell.
Let's not discount Motherwell are the form side in Scotland. In fact, Motherwell are the form side in Britain. Let's be honest, not just Scotland, 13 wins and 14, the other game a draw. Motherwell have been absolutely outstanding. The last two since they lost the League Cup semi-final, they've been absolutely outstanding. And they're not a kick in the arse off Celtic in third, and it only takes one of these sides above them to drop a couple of games or a couple of draws, and Motherwell are making this potentially a 4-horse race. The form they've shown, and it's not just getting results. Motherwell, I think, are certainly one of the better footballing sides, if not the best footballing side in Scotland. They knocked the ball about beautifully. They beat Celtic 2-0 a couple of weeks ago midweek, and they absolutely destroyed them. They played them off the park. It was 2-0 going on an absolute doing. So as I say, let's not discount the side for Firth Park either. And to me, them and Hearts, it's blatantly obvious. It's an obvious statement to make, but them and Hearts have been the 2 big successes of the season, undoubtedly this season. But you mentioned, Dennis, the Europa League, and we look at the Europa League. Celtic, with that victory last night, did manage to make the playoffs to try to get to the knockout stages. So the playoffs, the 8 games are Dinamo Zagreb against Genk, Bran against Bologna, Ludogorets, who Rangers beat convincingly last week, are playing Ferencváros, Celtic against Stuttgart, Panathinaikos against Victoria Pilsen, Fenerbahce against Nottingham Forest. Forest seeded for that game. PAOK against Celta Vigo, and Lille against Red Star Belgrade. And if Celtic do manage to get through that, they're going to either face Porto or Braga in the next round. If they get through, I think Forest, if they get through, they could either end up playing Midtjylland or Real Betis, depending obviously how that goes, if they can make it through as well. Now that's the Europa League. Champions League is a different kettle of fish, obviously, but Europa League wise, Celtic up against it. I think they have played Stuttgart once before, back in 2003. They actually won the tie 5-4 on aggregate, but obviously Celtic are a different side to what they were 23 years ago, and actually as are Stuttgart, German Cup champions, I think they are. That's a very, very difficult tie for Celtic. There's no doubt about it. They've made heavy work of getting to that playoff. And it is a difficult tie for them. Yeah,
I would like them to get Ludogorets after watching them.
Unfortunately,
they were dire. They were dire. And I think that's a good tie for Celtic, because there's no way in this planet, and I'll say that now, Celtic is going to get to the final. So you've just got to take it that getting by this tie, it should be a good tie. I've said that before when we talk about Scotland having Brazil. You're better with good ties in a lot of ways than having the Ludogorets, although as a preference, I would think it's a tie you would be almost certain to get through in my head. But Stuttgart will be a good test for them. Let's see what they're made of. There's still good teams in that knockout round. So we'll just need to wait and see. The other thing as well is, and I had the thought about this at the start of the week, was I think now that we've had a run with the Champions League structure as it is, and also the Europa League, I'm actually thinking now they should take it another step forward, which won't happen, but it's my thoughts anyway, only my thoughts. We've got a Champions League, and it's no Champions League when you've got 6 English teams in there. That, to me, is not good enough. It's meant to be the Champions League. So from each country, it should be the champion, the league champion, nothing else. Then you move on to the Europa League. For me, the makeup of that should be your national trophy, your FA Cup or your Scottish Cup, whatever it is, each country, and also your League Cup, or the second most important. That would make up the Europa League. And then the Conference League could be made up of another, like second place or third place out of other divisions. You could make that up somewhere along the line. The problem I'm seeing is that I'm watching this Europa League week in and week out, and the standard is terrible in a lot of games. Yep. And that's because the Champions League has been filled to the brim with teams like I've just said, 6 English teams. I haven't gone through how many there is for Spain, Italy, or whatever else. But there's an abundance in there that we could be filtering down and get rid of some of the poorer teams. In other words, you're a champion. You get into the Champions League. It might be a bit smaller, but that to me is then a real good league. You get the Europa League, which should be good because you're getting people that win the cup and you're getting the League Cups or whatever it may be. You've got then a volume of teams in there. And the also rans you could make up with the Conference League. So therefore, I would find that when I'm watching Europa League, I'm going to get a better standard of football because half of the ones, or 5 out of that Champions League from England would be dropped down into the next division, which would be Europa League. For me, that's what I would like to watch because, I repeat, I have watched some absolutely diabolical matches, not just necessarily with Rangers and Celtic. And as somebody's just said, it's you, Jamie, it's never going to happen. You, if I don't want a breakaway league, trying to keep everybody happy. Yeah, but I think the supporters have got to be taken into account. I can't get my life back at the stage I'm at, watching a whole load of dross for an hour and a half, hoping to get 90 minutes of decent football. And that's the problem we're getting. Their idea of the Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, brilliant. It's been a breath of fresh air. Now you start to fine-tune it in my head, and that's what you should do. Why is it called the Champions League? Because it should be for champions only. But
nah,
you're for another day, you know.
You're never going to get that because that's going to dilute the quality of their top trophy. And their top trophy with sponsorship, etc., is what's called the Champions League. You know, and as Jamie says, you've got the best 4 sides from each division effectively. So there's no way that it's going to happen. Absolutely no way, because that will dilute the quality of that top trophy. You know, if you then have only the Champions League, the champions from each league. So you're going to end up with even more dross because you're going to end up with Real Madrid against Hearts, for instance, and best will in the world, a Hearts side who are doing well in Scotland are never going to compete against the likes of Real Madrid. You're going to end up with Bayern Munich against sides for the League of Ireland, or and it's just never ever going to.
I'm trying to reduce the amount of teams that are coming from countries that their standard is so poor they're having 2 and 3 teams in it. And I've watched that. Well, you could class that way. I mean, if you look at the Aberdeens and Kilmarnocks and teams like that have been in it, even Motherwell in recent years, we've not done that well. And I really don't want to watch these games just because they're Scottish, if the standard is going to be poor. Rangers have come and Celtic have come up against some absolute garbage and struggled. And what does that say then? There are 2 top teams, or at this moment in time anyway. So what I'm trying to say is they don't get bumped. but they go into a different division that basically maybe it'll be a wee bit more of a spectacle. And that's all I'm saying. Fine tune it.
Let's look at that playoff now for the Champions League. You know, what we're called. It is called the Champions League. So I mean, let's stop pissing about. It is the Champions League. You know, try to disguise that. So Benfica Real Madrid, a repeat of the game there from Tuesday night, which was an absolute classic. Sorry, I'm out, but Benfica, fair play to Jose Mourinho, by the way, up against 9 men and bringing the goalkeeper forward for a free kick. Brilliant.
A great header, by the way. Hey, by the way, most centre forwards would have loved that.
Aye, that's it, exactly. That's him. He scored more goals in the Champions League than Cammy did, you know, or in Europe, certainly than what Cammy. That's a goalkeeper. Bodo Glimt against Inter Milan. Monaco against Paris Saint-Germain. The champions are actually in the playoff again, and an all-French tie. Karabakh from Azerbaijan taking on Newcastle. You get Galatasaray against Juventus. Club Brugge against Atletico Madrid. And then 2 German sides in Borussia Dortmund against Atalanta and Olympiacos against Bayer Leverkusen. So, Dennis, you're talking there about the quality from Spain, from Italy, etc. So you get 2 Spanish sides in the playoffs. You get 3 Italian sides in the playoff. Obviously, only the 1 English side because 4 have gone straight through, and 2 German sides there. You know, so that's the top leagues in Europe, how they're represented within the playoff. Obviously, 4 sides from England have gone straight through from the top 8 in the shape of Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester City and Chelsea. So they're all straight through into the knockout stages. The other 4 sides, I'm trying to see who's missing from that. Obviously, Barcelona are through.
Right. Bayern Munich and Sporting. Yeah. So you've actually 5 at the Cammy that are left in Europe from England. Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea and Man City have all made it through. Now, that to me, I think if you had part of that lot in the Europa League, for me, I would find that my Thursday night would be more interesting than what I've been watching in recent months. That's what I'm trying to say. You're not missing anything with 3 of them going to the Europa League.
Well, the thing is, you're getting 40 million for even just qualifying through the Champions League.
Right. I'm not debating that. What I'm debating is the quality of it rather than the finance. It's not the finance. The finance is what's driving it. The thing I'm looking at is the quality of watching football on a Thursday night. And you've got teams in there, 5 out of the 8 are from England.
6 with Newcastle. You've got to fancy Newcastle against a side for Azerbaijan, Liverpool.
They ended up 12th, you know. So you look and you say to yourself, is it an English Champions League or what? When you've only got Bayern Munich, Barcelona and Sporting in it. The rest are all having to play off. No. So listen, the whole thing, I'm probably the first person anybody's heard criticising the structure of this. The structure of it is not what I'm going on about. The structure is brilliant, but it just needs maybe more fine-tuned by how many teams from one country is in that first Champions League. Yeah. And the rest. It's something maybe it's totally a dead duck lately. But the bottom line is, I just thought it's worth mentioning what I think. That's all it is.
Right. Yeah, certainly. But as I say, I don't think it's never going to happen, you know. So irrespective, I don't think, or maybe this or maybe that, it's never going to happen. The Champions League is just going to be the league where it gets the concentration in terms of television money, etc., you know. So it is what it is, you know. But
anyway, there was good ties coming up in that Champions League. The knockout.
Question for you.
Yeah. Sorry?
There's Jamie got another question for you. Should the Mbappe goal have been allowed to stand?
Yes. I'm only saying that because I haven't seen it.
Aye. I've seen
one, Jamie.
I've seen both of them, and I couldn't see anything wrong with either one of them, you know, off the top of my head. So unless I'm missing something or forgetting something for Wednesday, which is every possibility that I'm doing, you know, because I watched that first thing on Wednesday morning. But yeah, I think so.
Jamie, you can reply with what you think, because obviously you've seen it and you have a comment on it. So let us know what you think, and then I'll have a look at it later, and I'll text you probably whether I think yes or no.
The thing is, Jamie, at 3-1, I don't think Real Madrid would have been so pissed off and got down to 9 men, and I don't think Mourinho would then have sent the goalkeeper up for the free kick. So, yeah, based on that, purely and simply alone, I think the goal should have been allowed to stand, because he gave us that goal for the keeper at the end.
I did see just the tail end of it, to be honest, and it was the goalkeeper was more the talking point. As I say, him coming up was just magnificent. But it was at the injury time that I'd seen that. And to be honest, now thinking about it, it was probably a good game to actually watch throughout the whole game, you know. So
yeah.
But it's one you can answer us on, Jamie, anyway. I mean, he's 2 goals, 30th minute and 58. So I was well on by that time. I think it was an injury time. So can't comment. You can come back to us on that one, Jamie.
Well, Jamie's saying as a striker, it should have been allowed to stand.
All right. Okay. Right. Yeah. Well, you've scored enough of them like that then, Jamie.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just checking something there, but I'm not getting it to play. That's us new working that. One of us, our internet's chucking it, Dennis. So I don't know whether it's yours or mine.
No, I think it was coming for you, Cammy. I heard it crackling up a minute or two ago, so I'll blame you.
That's fine. I'm getting the same for you, so there we are. But
okay.
Anyway, listen, if you can suffer the lousy internet for whether it's Dennis or myself, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. It does help us out. There will not be a show next week or the following week, but it doesn't stop you liking, subscribing, and you can catch up on some of our previous episodes that we've had. They're all on YouTube or any good podcast app. So as I say, go ahead, subscribe to the podcast. It does definitely help us out, and you will be getting access to some cracking content just like this. We've got some good guests coming up as well in future episodes. But as I say, we're going to take a 2-week mid-season break next week and the following week, because I'm going away sunning myself, and you guys don't want to be subjected to my semi-naked body on any more verandas and things like that, or balconies. So we're going to give the next couple of weeks a miss. But as I say, go ahead, and subscribe and catch up on some of our contents. Dennis, last Sunday, we've made reference to it already. Last week, as I say, with Graham Duffy on the show as a kind of preview of Hearts against Celtic. Hearts hit by injury, Celtic with a new striker. That's the only new signing they brought in. Hearts had 2 or 3 new signings on the field. 2-2 draw at the end up. Probably just about a fair result, in spite of what Martin O'Neill thinks. I think a 2-2 draw probably just a bit deserved. And the only side that benefited from that was obviously Rangers, who won 3-0 against Dundee. But again, Hearts doing enough to keep that 6-point gap at the top of the table over Celtic, but it's reduced to 4 over Rangers.
Yeah, I think the controversial part was obviously Trusty's tackle. The boy's pace was incredible. Trusty was never going to get to him, right? The ball does drift a bit to the side, right? But there's no way in this planet anybody was going to stop him having a shot at goals. And that means you get sent off for that. And to be honest, if a rule come in when you're in that position anyway, whether the ball goes anywhere, I don't care. A centre-half should be sent off because he's obstructing him from going from anywhere. If that ball had went to the left and it hits off the other defender and comes back into your path, right? Surely the angle should not really matter 1 iota. You've obstructed him or hauled him to the ground or whatever you've done. It's a straight red.
Yeah.
We have this messing about and trying to define what's right, what's wrong. Martin O'Neill is a Celtic manager. Of course he's going to complain about it and not be happy about it. But I'll tell you what, if the shoe was in the other foot, he'd be dying for the centre-half to go off. So, you know, I'm not defending him for moaning about it. I think he should have been a wee bit more upfront and say, look, it is what it is, and that's what happens. And sometimes you just think the old firm, they got away with murder. And of course, that happens when you're sitting listening after the game, and you're saying to yourself, was it expected that was going to get overturned? If it does, then you've just got to shake your head and say, what we get VAR for? And that's really where it should come in stream. It took ages, might take ages as usual, but no, definitely for me, a red card. Everybody will have their opinion on it. That's mine.
Yeah.
I thought Celtic, in a lot of ways, huffed and puffed a bit in it. They really did. I just look at it and I go, are you really going to get yourselves to the next level when Hearts struggled at times in that game? But I'll tell you what, see their fight and their desire. Unbelievable. Plus that stadium being so close to the pitch. There's nearly 19,000 in there. And I'll tell you what, Hearts supporters are worth their weight in gold for them at this moment in time.
Yeah.
And, you look at Celtic's defence again, ragged. Finlay comes up and takes a midfielder and a defender out, and that never looked as if they were going to get off the ground. And you say to yourself, what is Celtic defence about? Every time a corner was taken, I kept thinking Hearts have a chance here to go. It was as bad as that. You look at the stats, right? The stats on this. Overall possession, Hearts had 54, which shows just getting the edge. But here's one. Aerial duels won. 43 to Hearts, 29 to Celtic. All right. Shots, who would ever have thought this? 14 to Hearts, 9 to Celtic.
Yeah.
Shots on target, 3 for Celtic. Hearts have got 6.
Mm-hmm.
You just look at it. Total passes, 365 from Hearts, 308 from Celtic. When would you have thought you'd see the day that Celtic would be passed, not off the park, but be in a position that they've done less than the opposition? And that is why you look at Hearts as real contenders for winning the Premier League. Because Celtic, I don't think, could have done much more. I really don't.
No.
Was it a good game? Flat.
Neither deal of football, I don't think. It was one of the kind of long ball, end-to-end kind of stuff, but no the kind of end-to-end you generally want in a game of football, But I still think ultimately a draw is probably a fair result, and I don't think either side will quibble too much with a share of the points, Obviously, as we see, Rangers earlier in the Rangers on Sunday as well. A 3-0 victory against Dundee. You're talking about Celtic huffing and puffing. I think Rangers did that as well. But ultimately, Rangers just seem to have enough in the tank in games where they're grinding out either a draw or, by and large, now they're winning certainly more games than what they're drawing, So I think we said it last week as well. Danny Rose has definitely made a difference. I think he's been a good appointment for Rangers up until now. And he's managing to get his side just playing a style where they're not conceding much. They are obviously lacking something up front, but they're doing enough to grind out results. I think 2 late goals in that game, obviously made it look slightly more comfortable than what the game suggested. But Rangers, as we said earlier on, who would have thought when we sat here at the tail end of September that Rangers would be sitting 4 points behind Hearts in second spot and Celtic would be another 2 further back, But that's ultimately the way it is just now. But when we take a look at the results on Saturday, Dennis, Aberdeen at long last getting a victory 6-2 over a very, very disappointing and struggling Livingston side. The Dundee United St Mirren game was postponed. The 2 games that I think were outstanding on a Saturday, Falkirk played Hibs off the park. 4-1. Victors, obviously just down the road from myself, fully deserved. Hibs were absolutely dire. Falkirk under John McGlynn were outstanding. And again, Motherwell 4, Kilmarnock nothing. Motherwell
would it be because Sherry and Hanley playing at the back? I get slaughtered for this early part of the season for saying, I hope my weekends are not going to be taken up watching the two of them playing together. And the Hibs supporters went mad at me. I'm sorry, but you can take from it whatever you want. That's the first I think that they two have played together for a while. And it's just showing you that Falkirk blew them away. And is it the problem that they don't do the business well enough? I can't get my head around the fact of why Hanley seems to be the mainstay of that defence either as well. So I just look at it and go, I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, they both scored. They both scored. Hanley got an own G in 89 and Bashiri got a goal for his own team in the 59th minute. So, maybe that's a fault that the two of them can score. Unfortunately, one of them's at the wrong end.
Yeah. But I mean, it was 2 or 3 tap-ins for Falkirk, but the boy Stewart 2 or 3 times getting in front of
your screen, Cammy, has frozen.
Aye, so is yours. Yours is frozen this, and mine is obviously frozen. So as I say, we do seem to be having internet troubles tonight.
Yeah.
There you go. You're back now. So as I say, you're I'm freezing your end. I don't know where the issue lies.
I think it's a Hibs supporter that's got control of the Wi-Fi.
Aye, that's that exactly.
But seriously, I don't know if that's the case. I haven't watched Hibs long enough with the two of them playing, or the fact that they have been in the focus. They are still sitting really well in the league, Hibs. There's no question of doubt about it. They're up in that top 6, and they've still got a lot to play for. And I'm just hoping that Bowie leaving doesn't affect them, because that'd be a shame for the good work that they've done up to now.
I think it's just you and I that are having the troubles, because the listeners are certainly hearing it okay. So I think it's you and I, Dennis, so we're all right that way. If we can persevere and suffer each other's dodgy internet, then we should be okay. But these results last week leave us with a league table, as we say, top on 51, Rangers second on 47. Both sides having lost only 2 games out of 23, which is exceptional for them in terms, obviously, no losing many. Celtic are a further 2 points back on 45, and as we say, Motherwell 5 points further back from Celtic on 40. So I mean, I don't think Motherwell are short of missing out on a European spot anyway. Possibly the 11 points to Hearts at the top of the table is definitely just too much. But they're within touching distance of Celtic for sure, and with the 3 points for a win, they're not kicking the arse off the Rangers either, So Motherwell, as I say, their form has been outstanding. The form side in the table, as we say, or the form side in Britain. So no, fair play to them. At the foot of the table, Livingston starting to get a wee bit isolated. 11 points. Kelly 3 points above them. The only thing is Kelly's dramatic drop in form has really been alarming if you're a Kilmarnock supporter. St Mirren, disappointing season. Okay, yeah, League Cup winners, but I think had they not won that League Cup, Stephen Robinson would be having to watch in terms of his job, and that's us them for a bigger job early in the season. Next is the two clubs, Ian United, and then, as I say, Aberdeen and Falkirk. Should have done it the other way. They round out that top 6. They're 5 points clear of Aberdeen in 6th spot. So they're
I think when you look at that top 6, I can't actually see at this moment in time that changing. I could actually think that your season could end up that way as it is. Hibs been in there, they need to tighten themselves up a little bit. I know they've had a good run and they've not had a defeat for a wee while, but when you look at teams like Falkirk, trying to put a bit of pressure on them, whether Aberdeen can come back after that good result last week, I don't know. Dundee United, they're a hard one to judge. Dundee's probably the shock team. That game last week was sitting at 1 each with Rangers, and I'll tell you what, they looked good value at one point to maybe go and snatch it. They just don't seem to have that cutting edge that's required, and they ended up, when you look at the result and you go, by the way, that was a heavy defeat. It wasn't a heavy defeat. So Dundee, when we sat at the start of the season, we thought they would be in deep relegation zone. They're not a million miles away from being down the bottom, but they've got a bit of a gap between them and Livingston. So they've done okay. And I said last week, I thought when I've been watching Dundee at times, their football's not the worst. So they've come on a wee bit more since Presley's been in there.
10th spot for Dundee would be a success this season. I don't think there's any doubt about that one, in terms of obviously the fact that the lack of depth in their squad. And again, obviously, the appointment of Presley as manager. So I think 10th would be decent if you got Dundee.
Cammy, Dundee, over the years, have sacked managers when their club has been in second spot.
No, I know that. Yeah.
When you say 10th, I would say that'll not be flavour of the month in Dundee if you end up in 10th spot. I think they're looking for it to be on the borderline of the top 6, if not in the top 6. I can't see it happening, but I'll tell you what, they're only 11 points away from Falkirk in that position. And it's not the end of the world. You've got a lot of games left. And a true test will be tomorrow when St Mirren play Dundee. Just the team you've talked about with St Mirren and Dundee. That'll be a good tester for both teams to see what their makeup is. Because St Mirren could do with a victory. They're in 19 points, Dundee in 22. Although St Mirren have played a game less. So this is a true test for St Mirren to see if they can bounce back from their poor league performance after, as you say, their cup victory.
Yeah. When we move into the Championship, moving away from the Premier League, last Saturday, Ross County Renaissance under Stuart Kettlewell continues. It's Airdrie 0, Ross County 1, Thistle 2, Ayr United 1, Raith Rovers 4, Queen's Park 1. Dougie Emery and Andy Millen continue to get good results at Starts Park. Possibly a shock, St Johnstone 0, Dunfermline 1. Which leaves us at the top of the table. St Johnstone have played a game less, top on 45, and Thistle second on 43. And these sides have just kicked off tonight in what should be possibly the game of the weekend in terms of St Johnstone against Partick Thistle in the Championship. Arbroath, they look as though they're going to comfortably make the playoffs unless they implode. And Dunfermline and Ayr United look to be fighting out for that 4th spot. With Raith Rovers. Morton, who have been absolute dross most of the season, they're looking at mid-table mediocrity if they're lucky. Airdrie, Ross County and Queen's Park. And that's how the Championship shapes up. When we move into League One, East Fife 1, Queen of the South 5, Hamilton 2, Cove Rangers 0, Cally Thistle 3, Alloa 1 and Kelty Hearts 0, Steny 2. And into League 2, good victory for Clyde over the league leaders Spartans, 2-0. I thought that game actually finished 2-1, but here it says 2-0 here. Dumbarton, Elgin City was 2 each. East Kilbride 0, Stranraer 2, Edinburgh City 2, Annan Athletic 2, Forfar Athletic 0, Stirling Albion 1. And then the top of the table clash there, Dennis, in midweek. Stranraer against Clyde was postponed. But at East Kilbride, it finished East Kilbride 0, Spartans 6.
What was the result you queried, Cammy? You thought it was what?
Clyde 2, Spartans 1, but I'm sure Spartans put a goal. Sorry, Clyde 2, Spartans 0, but I'm sure Spartans...
That's the result I've got as well, yeah.
I'm sure it finished 2-1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2-1.
So it's no Sky to get
Spartans.
Yeah. But as I say, that's a good...
The line's still breaking up, Cammy. It's difficult.
As I say, I think it's just between you and I. The listeners only get that anyway, So as I say, if you and I can persevere through, we should be okay. When we look at down south in the Premier League last week, Dennis, the big result was obviously Manchester United against Arsenal, but we'll go through the rest of the results. First of all, on the Saturday, West Ham 3, Sunderland 1. West Ham hitting a wee bit of form now. Burnley 2, Spurs 2. Thomas Frank still in charge. Fulham 2, Brighton and Hove Albion 1. Man City 2, Wolves 0. And who'd have seen this one? The Vitality, Bournemouth 3, Liverpool 2. Liverpool were 2-0 down, pulled it back to 2 each and could actually go on and get the winner. But they lose 3-2. As I say, down on the south coast. Liverpool definitely struggling, but that's a good victory for Bournemouth, who have lost a wee bit of form as well. And we look in the Sunday, Brentford 0, Forest 2, Newcastle 0, Aston Villa 2. Great victory there for Villa. Palace 1, Chelsea 3. Palace just seem to be shipping goals, shipping players. And Christmas time, maybe just before at the start of December, they've gone into free fall. And as we say, at the Emirates, it finished Arsenal 2, Manchester United 3. You and I had a few texts about that over the weekend as well. Who'd have seen Michael Carrick, his first 2 games at home to Manchester City, away to Arsenal, getting 6 points for these games, and Manchester United are now ensconced in 4th spot in the top of that Premier League, Dennis.
Well, we said last week it was magnificent the way they turned it round. Basically, Man United were almost looking like a Ferguson team. Yeah. And at the weekend, they've done it again. What more do you ask? You're looking at the performance is absolutely outstanding. You can't knock that. And, you always look for a change, an uplift when a new manager comes in. But the transformation, not just to play well, but to play like the way Manchester United are, what would you say, familiar with or have been renowned to play that way. Absolutely brilliant. And I'll tell you a real test for this when I had the conversation with my colleagues today, that basically this is a big test on Sunday, Man United playing Fulham, because Fulham are sitting there in 7th spot, really high for them in the league. And they're doing okay, if not exceptional. But Man United, can they do this 3 games in the bounce where they can actually perform the same way? So I'll tell you what, that'll be a magnificent game on the Sunday. Man United against Fulham with a 2:00 kickoff. And I'm looking forward to watching that because it'll be really good. I just think that if you're in that Fulham dressing room now, you've got to go, oh, here, what we up against. And if Manchester United turn up, as they have done the last 2 weeks, we could see a real revival of them. And it'll be good because everybody likes to see, well, most people like to see Man United challenging. Whether you text me during the week to see when Carrick would get, if he would get the job, and I said no, I don't see why you would hang about. Maybe you could just test the water this week. If Man United come out the other end of this on Sunday with a decent performance and result, I would say you give Michael Carrick the job and you just say, I'll tell you what, let's run with it to the end of the season and next year. I wouldn't go beyond it, but I would give him that and then just see where it takes you.
Yeah, give him 18 months, a chance to bring in. I mean, he's turning a squad there, which, by the way, there's some exceptional players in that Manchester United squad. Say the boy Cunha up front, they brought in from Wolves. Manchester United went about their business in the transfer window correctly for once. They get the boy Cunha, who knows the Premier League, who's been about at Wolves and scored goals at Wolves. Obviously, Brian Mbeumo they brought in from Brentford, again exceptional player, and he's dotted about. I like the 2 fullbacks. I like the boy Dorgu they've got at fullback. Shaw they brought inside a wee bit, but I think the fact that Harry Maguire's came back has let Shaw push out again. So I think Manchester United have made some really, really good signings in the summer window there. They've got the boy Lammers in goals, who's a massive improvement on what they had last season and the season before. They've been more comfortable at the back. They've been more settled. And as I say, I think they are. Carrick's managed to make something from the squad that the previous manager couldn't do. And they're a decent watch, certainly against Manchester City and against Arsenal. They were a good watch. The big will this week is, can he lift that squad for a game against Fulham, which is probably the first game out of the 3 that they're expected to get the result in. So can he lift them to get that result this weekend? And that will be the big thing. So you're right. Yeah, Sunday will be good viewing, that's for sure. And it's something I'm looking forward to. When we look at the fixtures this week in the Premier League, says he desperately trying to find them, and having very.
If you want,
you go, you can do it because I'm going to be them.
Well, you've got tomorrow's games is Brighton are playing Everton, Leeds against Arsenal, Wolves against Bournemouth, Chelsea, West Ham, and Liverpool. That's a 5:30 kick-off, Chelsea, West Ham. And then 8 o'clock is Liverpool against Newcastle. Right good ties in there.
Yeah.
Then you look at Sunday. Yeah. Sorry, on you go, Cammy.
Liverpool, Newcastle. Obviously, that's got a history. It should be an absolute cracker.
Yeah. Really good. Really good.
For them.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Sunday, we've got Aston Villa against Brentford. Man United, we've spoke about, against Fulham. Notts Forest playing Crystal Palace. These are all 2 o'clock. And a right good game as well will be Tottenham against Man City. That's a tasty tie as well. That'll be interesting. Monday night gives us Sunderland against Burnley. And that takes us up then to more or less next week. So, there's good ties in there in the Premier League. And again, it's just getting the time to sit down and digest them all. Very interesting.
The Forest Palace tie could be interesting. As I say, are Palace going to be able to put out a squad because they're getting rid of so many players? You know, Mateta is now rumoured to be moving on. Well, so I'm going to need to, with the fact that the 3 players that have left Palace in this window, I've had to make big changes to my fantasy team because I had Mateta and the 2 defenders as well, you know. So I'm going to have to make changes to the fantasy side again because I don't want them all. The chances of them featuring at their new side are a wee bit slimmer, you know. So they're
definitely in free fall. I mean, they're almost doing an Aberdeen, the way Aberdeen went last year. I mean, Crystal Palace, since they went out the FA Cup, the game I watched, where they didn't look like a Premier League team. And then, of course, at that point, the players didn't know the manager was going to leave at the end of the season. But I just think that made it worse whenever they found it. And the deterioration, just looking at the last 6 games, they've only drawn 2. The rest have lost. Yeah. So, you know, I don't think that they'll end up in relegation zone. But if Leeds and Nottingham Forest get their act together and West Ham, as you rightly said earlier on, are picking up, they could end up third bottom. Because Burnley and Wolves, for me, are gone. Wolves especially. But you've got Notts Forest, no the worst. Leeds as well. If they can leapfrog them. And West Ham, as you say, they all pick up. Crystal Palace could end up, which you would never have thought about at the start of the season, because they were a real good outfit. They could drop down into the Championship. Yeah,
I mean the Forest under Sean Dyche have started to pick up results. Leeds, they're starting to get some results as well. You know, West Ham, they've had a couple of decent results. Obviously, the victory against Spurs, good win. Yeah. And then again last week beating Sunderland 3-1. So they're 6 points for their last 2 games. Do you see it's definitely not beyond the realms of possibility that could happen? But time will tell, and we will be there obviously to discuss it in a couple of weeks' time. Because as I say, we're having the next 2 weeks off. We mid-season football pitch break. As I say, this time next week, I'll be sunning myself. This time tomorrow week, I will be sitting watching Las Palmas against whoever they're playing on a Saturday afternoon in the Spanish league, Segunda League. Always like catching a game while I'm away, so I'll definitely get that done as well. So looking forward to that, and we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks' time. So as I say, I think that's us done for the night. Go ahead, as I say, like, subscribe, give us a shout, look out for us on all the social media channels, Instagram, TikTok, X as well, you know, and obviously like and subscribe on YouTube, because after all, as I say, everything is happening on the pitch.